Welcome to another edition of the CivBattleRoyale. My name is Dawkinzz, and this is episode 51, Enemies on All Sides. Wars are fought, cities are captured, and entire nations are brought to their knees like never before, just like always. Starting on turn 751, let's get right into this. Hi, I'm DJ Jablonski. I've been a fan of the CBR since I discovered it in mid-Mark II. I was hooked immediately and caught up in a few days, which may or may not have been a contributing factor in me doing a bit worse on a math test than I would have liked, but that is not important. I am really happy to finally get to narrate a part, and don't forget, y'all gonna lose to Al Andalus. And hello, it's me, Limius, or Limerick Archer, member of Blue Cassette and invisible color behind these episodes. I'll be popping in near the end to narrate the last few slides. Just wanted to preface this so I don't scare you later. A funny little propaganda poster made by user Silvo Kanuni, detailing exactly how the Kazakhs ate the Iroquois lands up, just like how I eat the same sandwich that I get at Subway every time. Tuna, by the way. Nah, bacon cheddar ranch or whatever it is much better. And here is Varia's beautiful map showing the state of the world in a simple, digestible form. Take this from a guy who tried to do the same thing Varia is doing now. It is really hard, and my colorblindness was probably not helpful on that front. Not really a meme or a map or anything, but user Schnarfel's analysis of the events of last part was really insightful and really drove the point home about how terrifying the Blue Horde really is to me, and how last part may have just been the end of the Battle Royale. Kazakhstan, indisputably number one. All other countries are puny little bugs. Thinking about this empire's sheer scale makes me shudder. I bet they could take on the world and win by now, and I worry for the Moors' chance to win this. And other civs too, but they aren't as important. Are the Moors basically the Luke Skywalker of the Battle Royale? Can we get some fan art of that? To start things off, we see the Venezuelan homeland being ripped apart by war. While Hiawatha is still making gains, having just taken Maracay and Valencia, things may take a turn soon. The Iroquois are greatly outnumbered, and I cannot see one Iroquois air unit in the slide, while the Gwei have almost 30. And here we have a shot of the edge of the Kazakh core, and it is making me quite concerned for the Moors' safety. But that is not the important thing in the slide. The important thing here is that Zimbabwe has made peace with Benin. The Zimbabwe Blitzkrieg of West Africa was fast and brutal, kicking Benin out of their homeland almost entirely in one episode, and they had to give up Arnhem to Zimbabwe as well. However, the Moors and Kazakhs are much more pressing concerns for them now. The Iroquois march south hasn't ended yet. Hiawatha keeps up the pressure on La Vieja, taking Cumana and Santa Lucia, but that took 5 turns. The Iroquois invasion force is rather small, and their technological advantage is what's allowing them to continue this offensive. Uruguay has to halt them now and tech up immediately if they want to compete in the future. Ciudad Del Plata, which is nowhere near the La Plata it claims to be a city of, and Cauchila have fallen to the Iroquois, and Cumana had a game of hot potato played with it, judging by the population drop. It is genuinely impressive to me how the Iroquois have made it so far into South America. Even through tough terrain and enemy air superiority, they are still taking city after city and making it look easy. There may be hope for them yet. Hiawatha has clearly taken his fans' request to come to Brazil to heart, as Paysandu, Trinidad, and Barquisimeto all fall to the Confederacy's conquistadores. La Vieja has probably gained a few more Blanco hairs than he would like to admit because of the stress of it all. And now we make a cut to the Baja, which the Gwei has managed to hold on to, somehow. Scarier is the ungodly large Kazakh hover tank armada in the East Pacific. Weren't they like 25 techs behind the Iroquois and Moors 2 parts ago? They became so strong so quickly, the Iroquois were fighting them to a standstill for years in Alaska. Then they got across the strait, recreated the setting of Fallout 4 surprisingly accurately, and became a hyperpower in one part. I fear that they may be the Brazil conquers Africa crossing of the Rubicon moment for the CBRX, but anything can change. The Battle of Brazil has ended. The Haudenosaunee and the Guay make peace, but not before Estacaria, Carmelo, Las Piedras, and Kawachi fall to Hiawatha's army. This is big. The Iroquois have gained a lot of land. It is a chance for Hiawatha to recoup and rebuild. His old core of Quebec and the Great Lakes is now under direct threat from the Kazakhs, so building up a new backup core in Brazil should be Hiawatha's top priority right now. Just when I thought I would get to see the old world for once, the Blue Cassette team elects to skip ahead 24 turns to show me that Uruguay has declared war on the Iroquois. Not too much seems to have changed about the situation, but now the Iroquois have more than one plane on the continent of South America. Their new core also still seems to be a work in progress, as none of their cities in view have been unpuppeted yet. The Iroquois have taken Ciudad de la Costa, which, while yes, it is a city, it is not of the coast, like its name claims. Why is this? Why would the city's founder lie to us? I do not know, and I feel insulted and betrayed. San Jose de Mayo also fell to the Iroquois. I don't see why Uruguay went for this play. They were so utterly outmatched last time, and that was while they still had all of South America. Are they trying to commit suicide? Do they actually think they could win? Did they ask another civ to back them up, but they chickened out last minute? And if so, who? Montevideo has fallen. I did not think I would be saying this while I was seeing Hiawatha's empire being ripped apart by the Kazakhs and the Guay a part ago, but here we are. Really goes to show how unpredictable the CBR is. Merely 2 parts ago, they were a superpower, a contender to win it all, ruler of 2 whole continents, and now they are on track to lose all of South America to the Iroquois. I hope La Vieja likes Oceania, because it will soon be his new home. Durazno and Florida have fallen to the Iroquois, yet the Iroquois hardly have a Pacific fleet at all. Thus, they must have just embarked their units and sailed them in. And like any good one-tile island city, they brutally slaughtered millions of people at the hands of the Iroquois troops, but that's the CBR for you. And to mark turn 800, we see the list of civs in the game by happiness, and oh my god, the Kazakhs have a massive number. Late game wonders are quite powerful. And hey look, that's the sub in 7th place. Uruguay has reclaimed Montevideo. In 5 turns, the population of the city has dropped from 33 to 2. That is going from 18 million people to 5,000 people. 0.03% of the city's population remains. It went from the New York City metropolitan area to Eldridge, Iowa in 5 years. That's insane. Durazno has been retaken by Uruguay, but Hiawatha still holds on to Florida as the 2 leaders decide to make peace rather than continue the killing. While this wasn't much of a war, what I thought would be the end of Uruguay turned into more of a middling tie. Uruguay has decided to declare war on Madagascar, and judging by the fact that significant amounts of their troops are still riflemen and cannons, it won't be a very difficult battle if I had to guess. But Madagascar will not ever run out of troops to attack the Baja with, so they should be at least a nuisance. I knew Madagascar's tech situation was bad, but I never knew it was this bad. I thought they just couldn't upgrade their units because they weren't in their home territory, but they are the best they have. They still have a wooden navy, while every other relevant civ has future tech. Imagine being a Madagascan and visiting another country in this world. And now imagine knowing that one of them is at war with you. That would be utterly terrifying. Here's a shot of the Middle East. The Moors have built up their core very well and have plenty of advanced units. I have hope that they could actually hold the Kazakhs back now. But the Kazakhs are still quite big and terrifying and are not ever to be taken lightly. A small Uruguayan force has been spotted to the southeast of Madagascar, and I don't see any of the Madagascan navy nearby. This does not bode well for them at all. Kaloy and Alasora have fallen to the Gwei, even though the Kazakh presence is strong. Just a few Uruguayan units will spell doom for Ranavalona I. Madagascar's last cities fall, and while a few of their units are left, Lime tells me that literally all of them die next turn to Lavalleja's air force. So that marks the end of Madagascar. Ranavalona, the mighty peacekeeper of Endgame, you fought and defended as best you could, but nothing could stop the Gwei. But hey, you outlasted so many other civs that your end is nothing if not impressive. Take care, you crazy queen. F. The Kazakhs have declared war on the Iroquois. This is going to be a crucial moment for the CBRX. If the Kazakhs win this, the production of North America and Asia will be more than enough to conquer the world. But if Hiawatha can hold, if just long enough to get Zimbabwe or the Moors to help him out, it may be enough to save the world from the Blue Horde. The Kazakh hover tank armada strikes at the heart of Iroquois, Mexico. Ciudad Bolivar is in a really bad spot, but not many other cities take damage in Mesoamerica. Xixinde and Chenusio, on the other hand, on the front line, are going to be ravaged. Xixinde is in an especially bad spot for defensibility. Xixinde holds out for one more turn, and Sokanende is liberated by Iroquois troops. On top of that, Lepayende, one of the Turtle Island's largest and most important cities, is in the black, and so are Kaigwu and Hysandayan. But something is off. The Kazakhs seem like they should have overwhelming air superiority right now, so why isn't every Iroquois city south of the Mason-Dixon line red? That Kazakh Air Force wouldn't just be doing nothing right now, and they have had a whole turn to bomb them. So it isn't that they haven't had the chance yet. Maybe the Iroquois force is up north, out of view. My guess was on the dot. The Iroquois force was based just out of view, and they have clearly been doing a number on the Blue Horde. But Onondaga just took a nuke head on, and no major gains have been made on the northern front on either side. But that is likely going to change soon, as Ile-à-la-Crosse is surrounded and in the red. Hiawatha has reclaimed the Emerald Isle from the Blue Horde. It probably won't last, as there's only one tile on the island that doesn't have a Kazakh unit on it. Also take note of the massive Iroquois fleet just off of Greenland. Reclaiming the largest isle in the world has to be a priority for Hiawatha, as Ablai Khan could use it as a jumping-off point to attack from two fronts in the future. The battle for Mexico has clearly been an intense one. Xixinde has flipped back and forth while we weren't looking, as has Kaigwu, especially keen-eyed viewers may have seen it on the minimap, while Ciudad Bolivar remains blue for now. St. Paul de Métis and Fort Pitt are still undamaged somehow, but I would suspect the non-existent Kazakh Air Force has something to do with it. Meanwhile, Hiawatha captures Willow Bunch and St. Laurent de Grandin and begins to beat down Fort Garry and Duck Lake. The Sunset Invasion holds on. Ireland has been utterly devastated. Sarakusta and Douglas both seem to have flipped a few times, while Calceton and Walba fall to Hiawatha as well. Gadakwat is the only Kazakh possession left on the Isles, but the fight is clearly not over yet. Ah, the commentator's curse. Something I always find a way to fall victim to. The Sunset Invasion has been totally repelled from the Manx Isles, but Hiawatha is not the type to give up, and the Isles will still be in contention for a long time. Things are going a bit better for the Iroquois in another Atlantic isle, however, as the Kazakhs have been removed completely from Greenland with the fall of Ticonderoga, and on top of that, Ireland has flipped back again. But I doubt that Hiawatha will get much out of Ireland now, even if he does take it back for good. Why would I be getting a shot of the Caribbean? There's nothing happening here, was what I first thought to myself after seeing this slide for the first time, until I looked closer. The Moors have declared war on the Iroquois. I fear history will repeat itself now. An outside power intervening was a major factor in causing Hiawatha's defeat last time, and now it is the Moors instead of Uruguay. This may finally tip the balance in North America in Ablai's favor. But hey, Maybe Europe will have cleaner borders once the Iroquois get removed by the Moors. The Moors have taken Castleton, but the Kazakhs still hold on to their cities in the Isles, so we may not even get clean borders from this after all. A city on Moorish Iceland has also fallen to the Iroquois as well. And here we get a nice action shot as someone's ship gets blown to bits just off the coast of Greenland. The Iroquois don't have many land forces on the island, but what they lack in army they make up for in navy, in which the island has plenty of protectors. Also, I can't be the only one who forgot about the Vikings, right? It's sad, honestly. They're so small that any one of the powers fighting over Greenland could declare war on them and wipe them out in the same turn. It is honestly a wonder that that hasn't happened already. As the Iroquois navy moves out, the Moorish army moves in, taking Onjarga and Ticonderoga. The combination attack by the Moors and Kazakhs were just too much for the Iroquois Greenlandic forces to take without significant naval backup, but I think that Hiawatha has more pressing concerns than the fall of Greenland on his mind. Such as the Moorish invasion of Brazil. I should have seen this coming in hindsight. They clearly had ambitions in South America. They would never have fought Uruguay if they didn't. Now they just have to fight the Iroquois instead of Uruguay. That's cool. Regardless, most of the Brazilian seaboard has fallen to the Moors. A large contingent of Moorish ex-coms have landed in the Andes and are making headway there as well, cutting off Uruguay from making a land invasion in Brazil. More Moorish ex-coms land in the Yucatan, taking Canjoari, while Port La Mar on Hispaniola falls to the Moorish navy. Things are looking really bad for Hiawatha right now, and I am not sure if he can salvage this. Is Wisconsin a swing state? Because it sure is in the BR, as Île-à-la-Crosse has been devastated by flipping back and forth over and over and over and over. Might as well add Saint Laurent de Grandin and Fort Garry to that list too. The Great Plains are looking very sparse, and almost all of the Kazakh cities in the slide are not looking too hot either. I wonder if it is because the Iroquois force bombing campaign is working wonders, or the Kazakhs are focused on capturing Nunavut right now instead of anything else. If I had to guess, both. That little Moorish adventure in the Caribbean seems to have failed, but they are still making gains in South America, as Cumana and La Guera fall to the Andalusi, while Valencia has been Moorish for a while. Outside of Caracas, a little big bomb explodes in the ocean, doing damage to the city. Hiawatha hasn't given up yet. Brazil may be devastated, but that won't stop him from holding onto it for dear life. Soon it will be the Moors holding on for dear life with how things are going for them now, as Hiawatha takes 4 cities in one turn. This has not been Cumana's part. How many times have they flipped back and forth now? North America, where the nukes are made up and the Geneva Convention doesn't matter. But seriously, this war has been brutal for everyone involved. I do not remember Le Péninde's population being that low, but hey, at least it is Iroquois again. And don't think I didn't catch that whose line is it anyway reference. Good job. Ouch. Cumana gets ping-ponged again, and many recent Moorish captures fall back into Hiawatha's hands. Hiawatha seems to be repulsing the Moorish adventure so far, but I see reinforcements in the Atlantic, so he isn't out of the woods just yet. The Iroquois have gotten some big victories for themselves as they have somehow managed to push the Kazakhs back to the Rockies. On top of that, there aren't very many units from either side visible on this slide. I don't know how, but things are going well for Hiawatha. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have jinxed it. Just when I say things are going well, all of Nunavut falls in one turn, and the southwest flips blue too. Nunavut looks remarkably sparse right now, and I'm sure seeing the beautiful nature of the Canadian North right next to a downed megadrone must be quite the scene. Seems like the Iroquois just finished building a good few units, and a good thing their front line is looking notably sparse right now. Then again, the Kazakhs don't seem to be doing very well either, even if they have the lead in units right now. And now I will be signing off, and Limius, or Lime, will be taking over narration for the rest of the part here. and from here on out. J. Jablonski, thanks so much. And I'm back. Brief reminder, I'm Limius, resident color, statistician, Dawkinzz stan, and frequent consumer of limes. Also, as a note, I do know what happens for the rest of this episode, but I do not know what the action in episode 52 looks like, so any predictions are just predictions. Not a lot more to say than that. Let's jump back into the action. Hiawatha's capture of Las Piedras ends the Moors' hopes of gaining a foothold on the other side of the pond. Their XCOM invasion was fantastic and truly shows signs of promise, but they just weren't able to follow it up with any sustained show of force. Maybe next time, Abdel-Rahman. While the campaign in the south may have faltered, the minimalist Moorish army is encountering so little resistance in the north their main worries might be the Viking line infantry scattered across Greenland. Their capture of Ganoge might be a new base of operations in North America, although I suspect the amassed Iroquois air force nearby and occasional ship will take it right back. As I sit at my station on the sub, carefully documenting the actions in North America through my many cameras, a steady drone starts to penetrate my headphones. I take them off, and the drone strengthens to an unrelenting din. Where's this torturous sound coming from? I and the rest of the team upend old war books, toss aside stacks of rankings, and frantically dig through our Nebby plushie collection in a desperate search for the noise. Finally, it occurs to me to check outside. And through the periscope, I can see a never-ending wall of blue ships rising above the mountains. They found us. In other news, the Moors didn't care about my prediction that they'd never visit South America again and have set up a hopefully more permanent camp in Las Piedras. We return back to the north for two more captures of significance. Iroquois marches right around the defenses at Willow Bunch to instead take Duck Lake and Cut Knife. If you've been watching the minimap for the past few slides, Iroquois and Kazakhs have been flipping cities like mad all over the continent, but with these two captures, seems like a step forward for the Iroquois. The Iroquois take back Greenland with absurdly large nexus and absurdly small nanohives. This part of the Moorish army is mostly ships and planes, good for capturing coastal cities, but not so good for mounting a serious invasion of North America. Now admittedly, they do have a super unit crawler sitting on the Isle of Lewis that could do some damage if it makes it over to the land. As a reminder, crawlers are a siege unit with a whopping 160 defense, and they do 120 range damage and can carry up to 3 missiles, and have a chance of spawning another hypervelocity missile each turn. Man. At this point, I think the Moors are just flipping cities for no reason other than to annoy the Iroquois. Like, come on, Skohari? Really? It's just not worth it. In other news, it seems that had the Kazakhs not won a space victory earlier, the Iroquois are well on their way, what with appears to be 3 boosters, a cockpit, and an engine just hanging out. They add to the collection of other assorted civilian units that make Hiawatha look a lot more intimidating in this slide than he actually is. See what I mean about all the flipping? This turn alone, Hiawatha captures Cut Knife, Patoche, Pembina, Labaye, and Laclebiche. The last city on that list is perhaps the most significant, as it gives Hiawatha a solid footing on the west coast and shrinks the border he has to fight Oblate Khan on. Now admittedly, the Khan will probably flip all of these cities back, but I think Hiawatha's momentum is picking up. A few turns later, that shrinking border is clearly paying off. Frenchman's Butte and Haina turn gray, and with only half a hover tank nearby, I don't see Oblate Khan taking these back anytime soon. Speaking of Iroquois taking cities, now that they share a border with the Moorish enclave of Ninstins, it seems its defense of a single worker and some planes is going to be short-lived. Personally, I'd advise them to hop on a plane and go west. Perhaps the menacing blue blob will let them pass over on their way back home. The Kazakh North American outposts are quickly collapsing. A couple of turns later, and Battleford and Lac Saint-Anne join the Grey Blob. While they do have a sizable amount of hover tanks left to flip cities, there are only 8 planes on the screen and no signs of more to come. The Iroquois only have 10, admittedly, but most of their cities here are new captures, not yet safe for planes to move in, so I would expect many more are hiding just off screen. The Moors continue with their annoyance tactics, capturing Puerto Cabello with a stray advanced destroyer, which I'm sure Hiawatha's southern general will just walk across the red carpet of Nexus to take back without any trouble. I believe the plural of Nexus is Nexi. 6 turns later, after some more obnoxious flipping, Abd al-Rahman III and Hiawatha decide to make peace. If you had skipped the last dozen or so slides, you might be forgiven for thinking the Moors and Iroquois even went to war, since the only city flip that stuck seems to be the Iroquois' capture of Ninstance. It began as an astonishing blitz display of force in South America that petered out to petty flipping and now ends with nothing for the Moors. Based on their past track record of frequently declaring war, though, I would imagine they'll be back. The Iroquoian Empire again stretches from end to end of Alaska with the captures of Osage and Gift Lake. What seems to be one of the problems for the Kazakhs is that all but one of their cities in the screenshot are puppeted, so they really have no ability to quickly build a frontline defense force. Everything must come from their core. I'm a bit confused why they're still puppeted. Those are clearly high-quality cities, and the Kazakhs are excessively happy. Seems like they would be useful additions. But then again, what do I know? Madagascar continues to have an outsized impact on the state of the cylinder. Even after death, they continue to clog up Kazakh territory with confused and leaderless soldiers. I wonder if Ablay could convince them to join his army. In the meantime, though, the Kazakhs decide to peacekeep someone else's territory rather than their own, spamming hover tanks all over Zimbabwean soil. Sure would be a shame if some of those units went and fought in the actual war up north. I'd totally forgotten the Kazakhs still controlled these 2 islands. Well, guess it's appropriate for the Iroquois to continue cleaning up Bordigor considering Ninstance. Gataquat had been doing well. It was never flipped when this was an active front, but now it has succumbed to the green goo. I call it green. I've always thought they were green. I guess it's gray. Maybe I'm colorblind. The Iroquois claim Savak and Cyrenaic, officially voting Ablay Khan off the island that is an entire continuous landmass that is North America minus St. Lawrence Island, proud home of Dawkinzz. I could see Cyrenaic and Osage flipping a few more times, but honestly at this point, they'd be merely symbolic flails by Ablay to pretend they can fight wars across the ocean. Hiawatha reigns supreme again. I got some mail to a certain Lemon Archer from Supreme Leader Ablay Khan, the scary and great warmongerer. Eat your words. Over in the east, the Iroquois solidify their holdings on the Shetland Islands, and with no Kazakh units nearby, I'd call this the end of this front. While this cleans up the borders slightly, I can imagine a future war between the Moors and Iroquois would be an instantaneous mess, considering how intertwined their borders are. 8 turns after I received that rude letter, it seems that Ablay Khan has kept his word. Cyrenaic, Savak, and Osage all seem to be relatively solidly in Kazakh hands, and Battleford has started taking damage from the Kazakh Air Force. There's a sneak peek of one in Imbari. I'd count that as a win if I couldn't also count 94 Iroquoian planes on this slide. In the south, the Royal Chin cruise business is going swimmingly. Looks like they've sent out a couple of groups of Zimbabwe and Iroquois on an excursion they've creatively titled Watch Civs That Eliminated Us, Eliminate Others. I hope they all signed their radiation waivers knowing how nuke-happy Ablay is. The amount of content on this slide is almost overwhelming. I mean, where do you begin? Let's ignore the Kazakh-Iroquois War for a bit and focus on the highlights. A Benin settler hovers on the Brazilian coast hoping a city is nuked off the map, while their Haydn counterpart prefers to hope a South Atlantic Atlantis appears right under them in the middle of the ocean. The Venezuelan cruise ship business is doing well too. Sounds like Yingzhang might have some competition. Just a little bit after their last attempt failed, La Valleja is back again for another chance at retaking their homelands. Now, based on the previous events, I wouldn't bet on the Gui, but they are sending an impressive amount of Nexi to capture Paysandu, and they've already captured Florida, San Jose de Mayo, and Ciudad de la Costa, which still isn't coastal. Combined with the distraction that is the Kazakhs in the north, Uruguay might have a chance to make some quick gains and peace out here. Oh boy, the cylinder is really heating up now. The Moors are back for more too. The only top 5 civ left to declare war on the Iroquois is the Vikings. Zimbabwe. As I predicted earlier, the borders are just honestly a mess on and around the British Isles. In this slide alone, Iroquois captured Saracosta and Bagat Azat, but take note that the Moors have yet to go. Sure enough, Abd ar-Rahman III captures Saracosta and Bagat Azat back. And while they're at it, goes ahead. Lime, why'd you do this? You're gonna say every city? Takes Douglas, Gataquat, Walba, Onjarga, Ticonderoga, and Cataragus in the north. In South America off-screen, they claim Valencia and Santa Teresa del Tuy. For the mathematically challenged, that's 10 cities in one turn from a world power. If that doesn't scare you, I don't know what will. Spiders? Spiders with bees in their mouth, and when they bark, they chew bees at you? I guess spiders don't bark. Or do they? Off-screen, Iroquois had temporarily claimed Saint Louis de Langevin and the titular Luni Lake, but never fear, Uruguay reclaims both cities and in the process also takes Ciudad Bolivar. While I can see La Valleja holding on to his 2 original cities, I don't have a lot of hope for any more northern conquests. Hiawatha's army just looks too numerous up here. Back in the north, things aren't looking a lot better for Hiawatha. The Kazakhs are slowly clawing their way back onto the continent with the capture of Battleford and Wood Mountain. Uruguay owned it, but then the Iroquois took it, and the Kazakhs took it from them. The Iroquois force is still many in plane, but it seems Ablay's hover tanks don't seem to really care. I thought I had this war all figured out earlier, but now I'm not really sure which way it'll swing. We get a look at South America where the Moors had already captured a couple of cities. Their bombers are patrolling the nearby sea and will surely protect their new capture of Barinas. Hiawatha, in a shocking turn of fate, has clearly decided that his highly advanced army wasn't working before, and has thus decided to train up old-school paratroopers, a mobile SAM, and a Triceratops. Yes, a Triceratops. No, they're not actually that good. 100 strength, 2 movement, and no fancy abilities. Still cool, though. We end with one of the most shocking images to come from this episode. After watching Uruguay crumble to Hiawatha's forces, then follow that up with a stalemate of a war, on this turn, La Valleja has captured Santa Lucia, Cahuachi, San Jose de Mayo, Paysandu, Estacaria, Las Piedras, and off-screen Saint Louis de Langevin, and Loon Lake at that. In addition, their combined air force with the Moors have severely damaged almost every single remaining Iroquois city. With strengthening forces attacking from the west, east, and south, Hiawatha might be headed for a quick collapse if he doesn't watch out. But then again, we said that last time. And that's it. I've been Limius, and you've been watching episode 51 of the CivBattleRoyale X. I hope you enjoyed my little interlude, and I'll be back next week as the invisible color and occasional note maker. Have a good one, stay safe, and go check out the document Do's and Don'ts for Talking About Racial Injustice below now that you're done reading this episode. It's right there in the comments, in the description below. I'm linking it there. My name is Dawkinzz, and it's been a great week having you. Please like, subscribe, and check out that document. It's important. And with that, my name is Dawkinzz. We'll see you next time.